Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabanson, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we have a hell of a show in store for you guys. Before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. So, what happened? As you guys know, about, let me say, a month or so ago, there was a huge discussion that took place on ESPN First Take. And on that panel that day was Shannon Sharpe, Stephen A. Smith, Molly Qerim, and Monica McNutt. And it was centered on the coverage of WNBA rookie star Caitlin Clark and some of the things that have been happening on the court, some of the cheap shots and all of that. And there was this big discussion around it. But if you remember well, you can remember that one of the two biggest proponents for Caitlin Clark on television was Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharpe. Their basic point, to just basically summarize it, was y'all need to do everything you can to ride the wave of Caitlin Clark because she's taking your sport to the next level. Like, quite literally. She is taking your sport to the next level, and they didn't understand why friction even existed out there, why they were even having that conversation. I remember producing a show about a month or so ago where Charles Barkley called out the entire WNBA. They said they could not have screwed it up any better than they did with the Caitlin Clark situation, and they just couldn't understand it. Why? Because up until this point, the WNBA had been crying for more attention, for more support, more revenue, and then you finally have a player that's bringing in record numbers of viewers and attendance, breaking all kind of she broke the record this year for attendance figures, and then now you're finding ways to self-sabotage. So what happened? Yesterday, there was a segment on ESPN First Take. And they were discussing Caitlin Clark, her stellar season, Rookie of the Year, and all of that. And then it came a part where Shannon Sharpe, and what I've noticed is that Shannon doesn't let the female panelists get away with things that Stephen A. Smith does. He doesn't. All right. Stephen A. Smith maybe is in a different position, but Shannon Sharpe definitely doesn't. And he always calls out the nonsense when he sees it. And that is exactly what he did yesterday. And yesterday, during a pretty heated debate, Shannon Sharpe started calling out people on television that work at ESPN, like Molly Qerim and others, who were out there essentially hating on Caitlin Clark and looking for reasons to undermine her. And it got into this heated back and forth where even Stephen A. Smith jumped in and they all started going at it. And I was like, this is what we need. You need people on television to call it like it is when it comes to this Caitlin Clark situation. But before we even get into this heated exchange between these panelists, today's video is brought to you by our sponsor, Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks makes it easy to get real money action on sports and players you love. Pick more or less on 2 or more players in any sport to win up to 100 times your entry fee. For example, here's a possible winning player projection lineup. Tyreek Hill for more than 90 receiving yards and Dak Prescott for more than 263 passing yards. Josh Allen for less than 240 passing yards and CB Lamb for more than 96 receiving yards. And if you're like me and you want to play safe, you will love the new features Prize Picks invented. Flex Plays. Flex Pays are the safest way to play Prize Picks. You can still make a profit or win some money back even if a couple of your picks don't hit. On top of this, Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. And remember, whenever you support this sponsor, you're supporting this channel. Thank you. So what I'd like to do now is like to play the most important parts during their conversation yesterday, and then when I come back and really get into the meat and potatoes of today's show, take a listen to this exchange here.
Stephen A., I would be remiss if I didn't say this. A lot of this noise came by people that were sitting on this network. They tried to minimize her, said, well, you giving her all this credit. What about the women that came before her? What the women came before her, what they did cannot be taken away. That ain't got nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. But there was a lot of people tried to make sure they keep Caitlin Clark in her place because what you're doing, if you give her all this shine, you minimize what they done. You can't minimize what Maya Moore or Candace Parker or Lisa Leslie or Lauren Jackson or Diana Taurasi or Simone Augustus or any of the other great players. That Caitlin Clark, what she's doing doesn't minimize what they've done, but we should have been giving her the credit. We saw the ratings, we saw the merchandise sales, we saw the attendance, but y'all want to make it about something else. Oh, what about the women that laid the foundation? What about this? What about it? That ain't got nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is box office. She's doing this. And instead of giving her credit, y'all tried to make it about, oh, y'all poo-pooing the old guard. Y'all never talked about the old guard like this. Nah, I ain't gonna let it slide. Caitlin Clark, unanimous rookie of the year. But what's even more impressive, she's first team WNBA. First.
You know, Shannon, I hear you, right? I hear you 100%. But another level of noise was coming from people. You were one of them who also tried to create a picture around Caitlin that the league was against her based on the actions of less than 5 former players or current players, which also creates a lot of noise. Like we saw during the All-Star game, the league and the players in this league like Caitlin. They enjoy Caitlin. They had so much fun with Caitlin. So there was noise created from every single
was pointing the finger directly at you, because I'll
no,
come
not
to
me.
defense on that. I'll come to your defense about that. But let me also make this a point. You're not entirely accurate with what you just said. Because guess what? Whether it was Shannon, whether it was myself, we didn't paint a picture of the entire league. What we said was there was noise out there emanating from some. And those folks were very, very loud and conspicuous with their dissent towards things involving Caitlin Clark. When we pointed that out, we said why. What was the necessity for it? Because a rising tide lifts all boats. This woman is box office. Plus, she can play. And the combination of the two would ultimately give all of those wonderful ladies for the wonderful work that they had done over so many years. It would have been validated, even though it came through the conduit was her. Ultimately, it stood to benefit the collective whole. And rather than some out there accepting and embracing that, they resented it, and they tried to use the contributions of others who came before Caitlin Clark to justify their vitriol instead of owning the fact that what really was their objective and what really was their agenda is that they resented the fact that this young lady who came into the league, took it by storm, and drew in a level of attention that they weren't able to draw. That was the reality.
One thing proved everybody wrong.
What about the guards? Let's talk about the guards that didn't make it. Talk about the guards that didn't make it. How did they play, Andrea? Because you were one of the ones that say she didn't earn it. How did the guards play that was in the Olympics? How did they play?
For sure, but we can't take how Caitlin finished the W season and pivot that to how she would have done in the Olympics. That's a completely different
All I'm
argument.
saying is, look at that point. Look at how she played up until that point. Chelsea Gray had only played one game before she went to the Olympics. She was out playing Diana Taurasi. Was she outplaying Diana Taurasi at that point in time that she was on the team? It's a simple yes or a simple no.
Was Caitlin outplaying Diana Taurasi? But you can't just factor in current play, Shannon. That's all I'm saying. You got to factor in. Well, if you're factoring in Diana Taurasi's Olympic experience, Diana Taurasi's how she was with the team, I get it.
Shannon, hold on 1 second. Shannon,
this ain't a lifetime. An Olympic lifetime achievement.
Shannon Sharpe, hold on 1 second. What we're saying is you guys were right. That's what we're saying. You
no,
were right.
Molly, you did not say that, Molly.
So you heard what the panelists had to say. You saw that Shannon Sharpe wasn't playing with them. You saw that Stephen A. Smith was, and there was a particular point when Shannon went back to the time they had that argument about the Olympics, because if you remember, there was this discussion of whether or not Caitlin Clark should be selected to make it for the WNBA team in terms of, the USA women's basketball team to go play in the Olympics. And there was this argument, we don't want to send her because of cohesion issues. Are there other players that are more qualified? And they were like, no. And then she was like, well, she wasn't playing up the par. He was like, well, it wasn't like as if she was averaging 5 points a game. Like, he's like, let's not do that. And as a matter of fact, as I said, she just won the Rookie of the Year. What were her numbers this year? She finished this year as a rookie, averaging 19 points per game, 5.7 rebounds, 8.4 assists on 42% shooting from the field, 34.4% shooting from the three-point line, while shooting 91% from the free throw line. And to mention, she broke all of those records. She was one of the most talked about figures in all of sports. Forget about basketball. They were bringing in Caitlin Clark was bringing in more viewers in certain games than actual NBA playoff games. Caitlin Clark was a bigger draw than some NBA stars. I want you guys to think about that for a second. At no point in time in history have we ever accused the WNBA of being as popular as the NBA. And here you have a rookie that's coming in and bringing in more viewers than some Do you know what that is? I didn't say an NBA. We're talking about playoff games. Do you know how important, how significant that is? Because in the playoffs is usually when the attention is at the highest for the NBA. So to have a rookie WNBA player do that, how are we even having this conversation? So to me, I am very, very, very pleased that Shannon Sharpe pushed back and really made his opinions be known. I'm glad he didn't allow, the panelists to just walk away from him. I'm glad that he called out Molly Qerim as well. Right? I'm glad that he called him out because there was some flat out hating going on with Caitlin Clark. There was some just hating. And obviously there's a racial element to this. They're like, well, what about Angel? Yeah, Angel Reese is a draw, but let's not get it twisted. Caitlin Clark is the real draw here. Like let's just call it, it is what it is. It is what it is. Let's not hate. Let's not try to do, well, she'd be like, let's keep it a buck. She's the draw. Like when it's LeBron and LeBron is the face and he's a draw, we all keep it a buck. It's LeBron. In this case, for the WNBA, she is the biggest draw. Now, AJ Wilson just won the MVP, and Caitlin Clark won the Rookie of the Year. But if there was an award for the most talked about, most relevant WNBA player this year or ever, right, or at least in recent memory, it's Caitlin Clark, and I don't even think it's close. So I 100% agree with everything that Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. Smith had to say during that segment there. So what I want to know from you guys is simply this: what do you think about what Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. Smith, in terms of the points that they had to make to the panelist Molly Qerim, and by them basically calling out their own network? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. We catch you guys on the next show.